those two women, they really did play an influential role in my decision to just really just deal with menopause naturally. And I don't, I thinking back now, and like I said, I will delve into that a lot more maybe in another vlog. I'm just right now I wanted to talk about the chest pains. So because of menopause, I'm really trying to find more natural ways to prevent osteosporosis in with myself. So one of the ways that I figured I could do it naturally was just by using like this weighted vest. And so I ordered this 5-pound. First, I did research on what was the appropriate way to start off for me, for my, for my statistics. And then I ordered this off of Amazon. And what happened was Saturday evening, I was working from home and stationary standing there. I decided to just do stationary walking, and I decided to put on my weighted vest. And that was the first time I had ever done a weighted vest. And I think this is like 5 pounds or less. I'm not sure. I'll post my vest here. And so I put my vest on, and not just my vest, I also had these in my hands, and I was just doing stationary walking and trying to get in as many steps on my pedometer, which is also something new that I've incorporated into my life. I know I could keep track of my steps on my phone and stuff, but I don't want to deal. I don't always want to have my phone on hand. And I love that pedometer. I just put it on whatever, clip it on. I got myself a clip-on pedometer, and that is what I use to track my steps, my daily steps. And my goals are always, I reset or I started at 5 p.m. And then, I go on all the way up until 5 p.m. the next day, and then I restart it again. And my goal is always to try and get like 7,000, 8,000 steps in, which is what's recommended for, I can't remember, my age, I think my age as a female. So anyway, that's what I was doing that Saturday evening. And I had the vest on for like an hour longer. And keep in mind, this is the first time I ever had on a weighted vest, along with having these on my hand, just stationary, but just walking in place. And that was Saturday evening. So the next morning, Sunday, when I got out of bed at 9:30, I had my coffee, sat around, just relaxed and stuff. And then like around 10:30, 11, I felt these like chest pain, and it was right here. And I have heartburn all the time, but this didn't feel like heartburn, and it worried me. I was scared. And if it was like pain anywhere else, like a pain on my finger, my wrist, my elbow, my knees, I wouldn't have panicked. But because it was my chest area, that's pain in my chest area, that's something I don't want to just put off. It's something that really does, I think I should be concerned about. So I drove myself to urgent care, which isn't far from here. And so they checked me in. They checked me in at urgent care, and they just, in a matter of seconds, they called me in to take my vitals, and my BP was 158 over, I can't remember, 90 or 80. But keep in mind, I don't know if it was just my BP was just, hypertension, or if it was just because I had been active, walking to the car, getting in the car, driving, getting off, walking to, towards checking at urgent care. So they then sent me immediately down to get an EKG. And then they sent me back up with my EKG printout, and I handed it to a nurse. And then about 10 minutes later, 10, 15 minutes later, they called me in, and they said that the doctor was going to come in to talk to me. So my doctor came in not long after that, and she was asking me questions about, my symptoms. And for some reason, I had that chest pain all the way up until I got there. And then for some reason, right after the EKG, it dissipated and it was gone. But then it was coming and going in intervals. And so, but I didn't have any other symptoms. I didn't have, like, it wasn't emanating out to my outer arms. I wasn't short of breath. I didn't have a headache, etc. So, but what she said was, as a precautionary, if I think what she said was, if you're still having like pain or something, or something, but it had specifically something to do within 4 hours of chest pains, that you did, urgent care couldn't treat you. They needed to refer you to emergency. And so that's what she did. So she said that within 4 hours, people needed to be referred to emergency for further testing. And so that's what she did. But they also gave me 4 chewable aspirins. And then she asked if, if someone could drop me, or, if I had a way to get to emergency. And I told her I felt like I could drive. So I did. I drove myself to the emergency room. And when I got to the emergency room, they did the same thing. They took my EKG, they took my BP, and she said, I could have sworn the nurse said something like my diastolic was like 179 over, I can't remember, but I can't remember if that's, I mean, everything was just so kind of like chaotic. And, they were like strapping all these things on me. And they then took me into a room in the emergency department. And they took me into my room, told me to change into the gown. And then my nurse did a needle in me for a blood draw. And one of the ways they tested was, that EKG, BP, but they also draw blood from you every 3 or 4 hours to see if there are spikes or not, and whether you are having cardiac issues. And so that's why I was there from 11:30 all the way up until 5, because there was that wait time where they had to draw my blood twice to see the difference in the spikes to determine whether I was going through cardiac or not. Also did an x-ray. They did x-rays. And so those were the precautionary tests that they did in order to rule out cardiac issues. Was they EKG, BP monitoring, blood tests done every 3 to 4 hours, and an x-ray. And after like around maybe 3 hours later, around that was around 2 o'clock when I started that whole process in the emergency room. And then my doctor came in like around 3 o'clock to let me know that my x-rays turned out good. It didn't show any heart issues. It didn't show any lung issues. And you guys, I'm a smoker. I started smoking cigarettes, and I was also a pot smoker during my younger years, all the way, I think, up until when my first grandchild was born, when my granddaughter was born, my oldest one, who is 13 now. It's been 13 years. When she was born, that's when I just completely quit smoking marijuana. But throughout my whole younger years, I was a pothead. I didn't drink alcohol as much. For some reason, I was never a drinker. I was more of a smoker. And then after that, I definitely never smoked marijuana after my oldest granddaughter was born, and that was 13 years ago. But I have dabbled in like gummy marijuana after that, but not anymore.